if you are a crypto on-ramp of any type, and you care about retention, you care about them kind of people like growing their appreciation for these coins outside of the trading use case,
Mm.
DRiP is the thing to bring them to, without a doubt. Like it's the safest and cleanest product experience in all Web3. So, I think it'd be great for us and obviously for an app like Coinbase to dig in and figure out how to bring their users to this experience.
Welcome to Beyond the Drop episode 5, where we have the founder and CEO of DRiP, Vibhu. I was thrilled to have Vibhu on the show. It was amazing hearing more about the success behind DRiP, but also how they're thinking about things for the future of the platform as well. So we'll learn more about the challenges of scaling and their approach to curation on the platform, but also on their intentional approach for go-to-market. If you've seen Vibhu speak in other podcasts or heard him on Twitter Spaces, you'll know he's one of the most humble guys in the space. Unlike a lot of us, he's not just in crypto for the speculation and the gains, but has a genuine interest in the kind of democratic benefits of Web3 that we often forget about. The team at DRiP are truly making it possible for a fair, accessible, and open internet for all types of creators. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube if you haven't already. Drop a like and make sure to reshare this video as well. Hope you enjoy. Yeah, it was actually really, really buzzing that you came on, agreed to come on, because I did first hear you at Breakpoint. When I kind of stumbled across DRiP, and I think it was actually the same day that you hinted at DRiP Mobile. But I never thought I'd actually be speaking to you in person, so this is a bit weird. But yeah, I think the majority of people know, watching this will know who you are, or at least the majority of people. But it'd be awesome if you give us kind of like a brief introduction, as to who you are and what you did before DRiP.
I'm Vibhu. I'm the founder, co-founder and CEO of DRiP. We started DRiP in October 2022. Kind of went full time on it in April last year. And yeah, I'm a longtime founder, longtime software engineer. Worked at companies like Roblox and MySpace and Google in my time. And but most of my life was spent building retail stores. So crypto is like relatively new for me. But given my engineering background and desire to change the world, it was a perfect fit.
I think one of the things that I actually thought when I kind of first saw you, on like podcasts and that kind of thing, you seem very unlike everybody else. So I think maybe is that where it comes from, kind of the fact that you're not, maybe haven't been in the crypto space as long as everybody else.
Different from everyone else in the sense that I'm not a grifter or a scammer.
Literally, I've literally got written down that you're kind of like you're like quite
I don't
open.
know. I think most people are like that.
Well, I would hope so. I would hope so.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little bit older. I'm probably like the kind of founder that finds things a little bit later than most people do. I'm not like an early adopter necessarily of everything that comes out. I'm a little bit more like circumspect, I guess. So, crypto I didn't understand for a really long time. Even though I thought it was interesting, I mostly ignored it for a huge number of years. So yeah, I didn't come. I mean, what specifically makes it quite different? I did not come for any of the tokens or the or DeFi or anything like that. I was the first thing I ever did was buy an NFT, so mint a generative NFT. So that the collecting aspect, the trading card aspect was kind of most appealing. And I've gotten to know like the other kind of side of crypto, but I still confess that I don't completely like understand how these things how many of these things kind of will survive long term. But I resonate with the space a lot in general, just because I grew up wanting to be basically a hacker. Like that was when I was like 13, 14, 15 years old, I used to participate in a lot of like underground forums, places where I'm just for fun. I don't know. It wasn't like I had an interest. I wasn't trying to rob anybody or anything like that, but I had an interest in like just like subverting the systems. Like I used to install, keyloggers on high school computers in at school, and like I not just for fun. I don't know. I just like wanted to mess with people, in some ways. And I do think that like crypto's underpinnings are, like a different kind of are kind of related, this kind of like counterculture, counter system vibes. So I resonate with that deeply. And at the same time, uh, that's like, I also have been through like the proper business world. I've been, like in order to build a company that's raised $100 million and done the kind of things that my previous business did, you have to be able to put on a suit and
Mm.
show up to a boardroom in New York City or whatever with billionaires and like hold your water. And um, I definitely had that experience too. So in crypto is like, founding a company in the space is kind of like appealing to all the different aspects of my brain, both my child brain and my adult brain, in a unique way that keeps me really locked into it.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like you've had kind of the experience of both worlds, where I feel like a lot of people just come into crypto, they only see that. Like especially when they're very young, so they haven't necessarily had that life experience as well. Um, I mean, with Drip, that actually started as a side project to the Solana spaces, right? So it was actually something that evolved into a lot more after that time, at a very dark time as well. Um, what was it
Yeah.
actually? What was it about Drip that actually made you kind of keep pursuing it?
Mm. Well, I kind of posted about this the other day, but I didn't necessarily want to do that. I think I mostly thought that it was going to be too expensive to try to build a business around. But compression was a pretty big mind shift change for me.
Mm,
As soon as I knew that it was real, it was very easy to see that NFTs were going to go to zero. Once the costs of something go to zero, everything kind of changes. You see this in like with bandwidth, you see this with electricity, and like pretty much every case where you have like an input resource that is like heading to zero on that journey, like an exponential change has a huge impact on what kinds of things people make and build.
mm,
And so that made me, yeah, it just really made me like reconsider like the things that I understood about crypto. And you could start to imagine a world where like all things could be inside of NFTs, all kinds of data, all kinds of media files, etc. What the big insight around Drip, I definitely have shared this in the past, but like if you look at the way that we pitched this to investors in the early days, the way we were kind of thinking about it was really as direct to consumer content. And this is where my retail background was like very influential because Beta, the company I ran, was kind of like known for bringing direct to consumer brands to market. And um, that was a very big shift for the retail industry in terms of brands owning their customer
mhm.
instead of the retailer that they were kind of selling through. And what I saw in NFTs was really the only model we had like that on the internet where the content, maybe outside of email, where the creator or publisher kind of owned the audience, um, and therefore had leverage over the platforms that they use to send that content out. And so yeah, Drip is direct to consumer content. It's actually like very well in line with many other like massive shifts in society from where like middlemen are being taken out of the picture in different places.
Mm.
And um I would argue that's really the experience that has made the internet so amazing, but has also introduced lots of issues, like for sure. I mean, and the one place I would say where we don't have direct to consumer models is with content. We just don't have it. It's
Mhm.
just everything is being aggregated, um, you know, um, through discovery points of discovery. if you're a creator and you don't use those points of discovery, you don't get found.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of powerless to do anything. And once you build a big audience, you get totally locked in. You can't bring them anywhere else. You can try, it's just really, really hard. Only the very, very top creators can really have audience portability like that. Even for them, it can be tough. Like look at this ninja trying to cross from Twitch to Microsoft Mixer back in the day, not back in the day, like a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like complete disaster for him and for his business. So yeah, I think the more I thought about it, the more I realized that actually um, it was a problem area that I spent a lot of time thinking about. You know, I kind of understood the not necessarily the solution that we were going to build, but like the framework for how we would think about building this thing.
Yeah.
And then I was just, taking over in April last year. Doing what I do really well, which is my team. This is like putting together the puzzle, how you're going to go to market and get people to care about what you're doing.
I think you do that really well. Like with go to market. I think it's like just some of the things that you bring out and you introduce just make so much sense. As if you like thought about it like months and months ahead, and then it just makes sense when it drops.
Yeah, we have a lot of
Mm,
patience. We do think about things for months before they go live, and usually it's like an idea that we talk about and it's just not ready,
mhm.
and then something will change in our user behavior or because of some other feature that we rolled out. And then all of a sudden we go back to that thing that we were talking about and we're like, okay, now's the time for us to get this out the door and make sure it resonates. I think we have mastered this, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I definitely think so. Like you definitely do that like just incredibly well. Um, I don't know whether this is part of it, but what like one of the things that you have done with the introduction of Drip is that there's around about 130 creators, I think, at the moment. I might be miscounting. Um,
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, I just looked this morning.
oh wow, nice. Knew it. But yeah, one of the things I do like is it's kind of the way that you've curated Drip so far. So you've got all different types of creators, which I think is genius. Is that intentional? So you've kind of gone from, you've got writers, storytellers, photographers, animators, tattoo artists. I never would have guessed you would have brought tattoo artists to Drip. But is that kind of like intentional, the genre of people that you have curated initially?
Yeah, I mean, I think we started with a lot of art, but even from the very beginning, if you remember our schedule of the first like 10 channels, we went with art, and then we did music with Vault, and then we did like a project with DAA, and then we did comics with 466. Yeah, we definitely I mean, a channel curation strategy is like a mix of a whole bunch of stuff that we're trying to prioritize. I think it's like, first of all, um, we didn't want to be pigeonholed as with any kind of category,
Mm,
because I felt like the tech itself and the platform was going to have utility across a bunch of different mediums. And also, like even in the early days, like we onboarded Grind super early on, who's a kind of like musician, producer, hip hop artist, and his when we were kind of like thinking about bringing him on board, looking through his portfolio of work, and the average like artist today is creating across a whole bunch of different mediums.
mhm.
And you see this mostly in music, but in other places too, where you go to their link tree in their bio and there's like 20 different social media outlets and all of them have like different content.
Mm.
And so I think we also felt like there was an opportunity for us to make sure that we were supporting a creator's needs media wise, like very holistically. Um, and so, yeah, like, but nowadays, like, we don't want to be curating necessarily the way that we do. I mean, I think we want to curate the discovery points, but not necessarily like the ingress into Drip. And that's just because we don't have like enough, like, we don't have self-service tools yet, so everything is very much by hand. But at the moment, like I'm very much trying to fill in the gaps around music and video. because I think ultimately like the the directionality of DRiP's feature set and how we like think about stuff changes based on how the creators are interacting with us. And um like I want, even now, like very much important to, if we just throw like 20 musicians in the DRiP or 30 musicians in the DRiP, it gives us a much better sense for like what things we need to build next to support them.
Mhm.
I can't really guess at that, like they come to us with feedback, or we just like observe what's happening with them, and try to clarify the experience. So we did the other day when we dropped the word common from our base collectibles, was because of music. We were trying to simplify how they think about constructing drops. So there's, yeah, I think we're picking for like filling out categories. I think we are looking for, like, obviously we onboard lots of creators who have tiny audiences, but at the same time, if someone comes to us and they have a gigantic audience somewhere else, like we're not stupid, we're going to bring them on
Yeah.
because it's an onboarding point for us. When creators come from other communities that are outside of Solana, if they're coming from another blockchain, they're coming from Web 2, we're much more likely to try to bring them on board,
Mm-hmm.
because it's, again, like those creators will be pretty loud and they'll start to grow our audience into other corners of the universe. So like it's curation is like a growth oriented task, and it's like kind of a TAM oriented task, total addressable market, like
Yeah.
making sure that we're not being pigeonholed. And then it's kind of a product related thing, like making sure that we're throwing enough stuff at the wall that our product isn't going to feel stagnant or feel like it's only good for one certain type of thing. I think it's also risk for us because we probably will do, I think if we, let's say we curated a bunch of categories evenly, the product itself, the experience will be an average one for all those categories in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there probably are like opportunities for people to build music specific platforms or art specific platforms that maybe do things that we're just not willing to do, because they don't kind of help all of the creators that are on DRiP. So it's a competitive weakness for us. At the same time, I think our vision is really big, and we really want to be like the start point for every creator that comes into this new internet.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the variety definitely, it kind of spreads your wings a little bit further, or your tentacles. Um, and kind of like, yeah, I think bringing on kind of large accounts, and especially like Web 2 accounts, because they're so difficult to get into, and entice into Web 3. I think that makes a lot of sense to prioritize them as well. More recently, it's you've seemingly used DRiP as a kind of more a marketing tool for like sponsored collections. So last week's Hazy Arts, which seemed to absolutely blow up. It was incredible. They had, what was it, 19,000 Twitter followers in 12 hours. And
Yeah,
then
62,000 in 7 days. Yeah.
it's absolutely wild. It kind of reminded me, it's a bad
Yeah.
comparison probably, but it kind of reminds me of Fortnite in a way, and the fact that
Mhm.
like obviously they're a game that everybody plays, but at the same time they're like a complete marketing tool. So if anybody wants to kind of spread their branding,
Yeah.
they can get a skin introduced into Fortnite, and then 10 million, tens of millions of players can see it. So how do you see this evolving in the future with the marketing element?
Yeah. I mean, the first inspiration for sponsored collectibles was that, we used to do drops with other projects that were one off on the DRiP showcase list. And then when we went to duos, we were, it was more internal focus. Like you had to be a creator on DRiP to participate. You still do. Um, but we were still continuing to receive a lot of inquiries from projects who wanted to do one-off things with us. So it kind of made sense for us to like build a monetization model around that.
Hmm.
And then I was kind of recounting the early days of Facebook's business models and also Roblox where I worked. And Roblox still kind of works like this, where the Facebook original model is called Facebook Flyers, and you could pay $5 or $15 per day to put a banner ad that was shown on your campus that you were on, and so people would use it for like on-campus events,
Mm.
or like things that were kind of relevant to that community. It wasn't like there were big brands that were trying to like programmatically target our campus, and that this wasn't how it worked. If you go to Roblox today, you'll see the same thing. Like, and there's the same, honestly, the same model we had back when I worked there 14, 15 years ago. But it was community driven. So like all the banner ads are designed by like kids and like teenagers. They're all like horrendous looking, but they're just pointing you to different games.
Mhm.
But it's very cool. Like you feel like you don't feel like you're being divvied up and sold for the highest bidder. It feels like there's it's made for you as something that's part of the community. So I think we wanted to make sure that like the format itself um felt very organic to the way DRiP works and the way our community works. And I think we really did kind of nail that balance perfectly. But in a macro sense, like we have to have advertising models. They're just, I think DRiP is amazing. We've done really well in droplets revenue and all that kind of stuff. Um, at the same time, like there isn't unlimited money from users to spend on consuming content, whether that's music or videos or art, or unlimited money to spend on collecting. Um, it just doesn't exist. And so I think, you know, over like 5 or 10 years, or maybe even sooner, we have to find a way to like service businesses as well and to capture that income. And that's better for everybody in the system because first of all, it allows us to continue to keep the product very free. We're taking 30% of all the revenue from sponsored collectibles and putting directly back into the creator fund that pays out creators. So it's kind of like income for them as well, very directly so. And we plan to continue that forever. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I just think it's like this early version is very much just like a hammer. You could imagine all the ways it could be better. Maybe there's like, hey, cool. There's a self-service portal for like purchasing a sponsored collectible. Maybe you can filter and like say, hey, I only want to show this to people that own a DJ Poet collectible, or I only want to show this to someone who has like greater than 10 SOL in net worth on their wallet balance. Or, maybe just like show this to people that are in the US. Maybe there are like hundreds of different sponsored collectibles running at any given time, and you're only going to see the ones that are kind of relevant to you in that context. So very much like we're just, as we always do, like there's something really simple out the wall that we think is like a reasonable test for the product experience. And then like when we get to it and we have the time, like over the next couple of years, we'll refine that experience. But I think it's gonna be a monster. I think 10 years from now, like our whatever model we build here will be probably 5 to 10 times bigger than the direct support model that creators have in terms of revenue contribution to creators.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so I suppose with that as well, it's although you can go down, you can be a bit more kind of like you say, take a hammer to it and just throw a load of market now. But I think there's nothing more kind of powerful than having people evangelizing, DRiP. Like that's the most powerful piece of marketing that you've got there as well. And I think people doing that is will definitely help over time. What you actually mentioned earlier about this kind of somebody from Twitch, so moving platforms, for example, and the impact that had. Have you actually considered something like that in terms of actually like streaming?
We'll have streaming for sure. I don't mind like stealing all the best ideas from Web 2 and like reinventing them for our format. I think we have a lot to add. I think droplets, first of all, is like a something brand new for this entire scene. I think the mechanic that we designed where it has like a free and paid pool together is very cool. Imagine droplets being activated on a live stream where you can donate in real time.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. I think too, like we have new ways to do loyalty for your community. So you're plugged directly into the collectible system. So we're kind of wallet aware. Um, you know, Lots of exciting possibilities there. Maybe there's like badges that are actually collectibles that you own that you can trade or give to somebody else or whatnot, and earn as you're watching. Like there's I don't know, I think the canvas of like there's tons of things for us to kind of to build here. We've talked tons about streaming. It's just not the easiest thing to kind of build. It's one of the like more difficult things, but it's gotten easier. Like there's tons of ways to do it. I think we're just still not yet at a critical mass where like I have creators banging down my door to do it. I think there's probably 5 to 10 that would be interested in doing it per week right now. And I think it would make a lot more sense once we have, maybe, hundreds of creators that are kind of asking for it.
Yeah, I think when I think about drip, it's like streaming is like the most obvious. I don't know, I know what you mean, especially like you need to get to that, that point where it becomes where it makes sense. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's like I watch a lot of Twitch, and it just
Yeah,
makes so much
same.
sense. Like the whole model, and it could bring so much value to creators who are getting like a big slice of their kind of revenue taken away by just the platform that they use.
And Twitch
But
does stuff like NFT like things. Like they just don't have
yeah,
the infrastructure or words for it.
yeah,
And it's just so much more likely that someone like us will come around and just build Twitch with the right feature set than Twitch will integrate these kind of things.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we have unlimited opportunity there. I mean, I'll like you, I love Twitch. I think Twitch is the perfect model
yeah.
to kind of like, to kind of copy for drip in general, like
Mm,
just because it's so community oriented in a way,
yeah.
like relative to other platforms. And I think drip kind of has the potential to be that too, even though right now it's not very social.
One of the biggest achievements you've had is civil resistance. I know this is mentioned quite a lot in the podcasts that you're on and that kind of thing. You recently partnered with WorldCoin. So I'm just curious, how will that actually how would that change the experience for users?
Yeah, it won't. If you're already a user, it won't change your experience. Basically, we're integrating World ID as an option to sign up. That will join the Phantom privilege path. So if you're new and you log into Phantom, you create a wallet in Phantom on the app for the first time, they give you like a quest to go and sign up for Drip. And we kind of built this endpoint for someone to do like a $0 transaction and verify their wallet once with Phantom and then get in. So it's kind of in that line, like it's designed for people that are on WorldCoin but not on Drip.
Mm.
So it's about discoverability. You'll like come to our site, you'll scan your World ID with your World app, and then get right into onboarding. Unlike Phantom though, because Phantom unfortunately doesn't provide like very strong simple guarantees for this product. We feel very comfortable giving people droplets to spend when they verify World ID because we're 100% sure that it's one-to-one. So I think if you have been org verified, we're going to drop you like 500 droplets as your welcome gift to Drip. So you get like instantaneous mobility within Drip in a way that other people won't. So yeah, it's not like you have to do something if you're on Drip and you already understand it's totally fine. But cool, you went through the org verification. We're pretty confident that you're a one-to-one person. Like we're happy to reward you. And we'll kind of this is just the guideline. We'll kind of tweak it from there. But
Yeah.
plan is to launch in next like week or two. It's already done. We're just kind of waiting for WorldCoin at this point.
Nice. I didn't realize it was that soon. That's cool. I like to see that. Nice. Well, you've had a few partnerships recently. So you've got Tensor, Phantom, Sphere, WorldCoin. What other teams or
Mhm.
platforms would you like to see, would you like to kind of integrate with or partner with in the future?
Yeah, I would say probably like the biggest fish for us will be Coinbase and then maybe Binance at some point. Like I think in my opinion, if you are a crypto on ramp of any type, and you care about retention, you care about them kind of people like growing their appreciation for these coins outside of the trading use case.
Hmm.
Drip is the thing to bring them to, without a doubt. Like it's the safest and cleanest product experience in all Web3. So I think it'd be great for us and obviously for an app like Coinbase to dig in to figure out how to bring their users to this experience. Um, I only mention them simply because there's not alpha. I'm just admiring the fact that they do a better job than anyone, at least in where I live in the US,
Yeah.
like introducing people to crypto and making them feel safe. So I would love to find a way to work together.
Yeah, they are definitely the best. I mean, especially with their kind of like their more recent commercials and adverts. I think they're absolutely spot on to like try and draw people in. Yeah, none of my friends or family or anything really take any note of crypto. So yeah, any way to make
Yeah.
that whole journey easier and then to entice people, I'm definitely all for it. You've actually spoken about that quite a bit. So about the kind of difficulty to drawing creators. You did mention it before as well, from like the Web 2 world. But at the same time, you have this big backlog of creators who you want to onboard. Are you having, say, compared to a few months ago, are you having any more success with Web 2?
Honestly, I don't have that many conversations outside of Web3. Uh, but the ones that I have had recently have gone very well. I think usually almost entirely because of an introduction someone makes to us.
Mm,
And yeah, I without a single miss, I think every creator I've talked to from Web2 understands and appreciates the product. I think that doesn't mean that they're ready to join because the most common thing I hear, like the two most common things I hear are one is kind of like still not understanding why someone would want to own these things, and then two, when they can just like see them, or listen to them. And then number two is concerns about their personal brand and getting involved with crypto
yeah.
stuff and whether their community is going to be accepting of it. I think, and so I kind of like think of those two things as like the biggest things that we need to solve in order to cross the chasm. Um, on the crypto onboarding side, I mean, we're winning creators left and right. There's, like you said, there's a huge wait list. There's hundreds of creators joining every single week on the wait list right now.
Wow.
So I think it makes sense for us to kind of like keep growing up and through crypto. And it's important too that like the next generation of creators that finds DRiP, whether they're coming from crypto or Web2, sees the platform that's thriving and has a meta developing and has, like they can see themselves kind of fitting in with that group, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And and then the pitch will be just so much easier. I guess, yeah, I'm not super worried about it yet. I feel like we have a strategy, at least on the ownership side. Like that's just education and also having a really good product experience.
Yeah.
And then on the crypto scam thing, that one, I don't know if there's any solve other than like time and like trusts, building over many years, and money. Because I think even the most steadfast creators they're not going to make stupid financial decisions about where they create. So I feel like if they feel like they can make more money on DRiP, eventually they will come over. It's
Yeah.
just and they'll be willing to deal with all the any backlash if there is.
Mm.
And DRiP really, I think we just everything we do at this point is like trying to convey a feeling of safety and welcoming. Um, and hey, like this is I understand you don't like NFTs or the community doesn't like NFTs for X, Y, and Z reasons, but um, this isn't about NFTs. No one's buying anything from you. Um, this is on a ultra like energy efficient blockchain. And in fact, CNFTs are even more efficient because of how they kind of work. Like it's you have really nothing, like it's pretty much like storing them in a database. And and by the way, like our values are very much aligned with you
Mm.
as a creator. I think we'll yeah. Um I think over time we'll figure it out.
No, I think you're right. It is just a matter of time. Like you say, I mean, you've got a backlog of people joining. The more people join, the more people share the story of the success, then the easier it will be to entice people over. Um,
Sure.
yeah. Well, I only have a few more questions. I'm just going to fire them at you. It's
Sure.
kind of like a quick fire. Just answer them as quickly as you want. So first is when is DRiP mobile early access and when can I get it?
The earliest date probably could be March, end of March.
Nice.
If not then, April, possibly May
Okay.
for GA.
Lovely. You have created a space which kind of empowers everybody else to, grow their audience. But if you were to create a channel yourself, what would the theme be?
Uh, I mean, the only thing that I'm good at that's creative is juggling, as people know. So I feel like I would have to do juggling. Um, Either that or like some kind of writing thing once we have writing. Yeah, I have very little creative talents at all. So
The
yeah,
irony, the
I
irony of that
should.
is hilarious, to be honest.
I mean, very creative mind. I just can't. I don't know. I just like. I just can't draw. I try. I
Fair,
just can't do it. I don't know.
fair enough. I'll let you
Yeah.
off. And how else does the internet need to be fixed apart from what you've already discussed?
How else does internet need to be fixed?
Mm.
I really miss the days of the kind of open web. I feel like uh we're kind of living in a time where every major entity is building a data moat, and they're doing that for lots of reasons. They're doing that because of things like GDPR. They're doing that because of, the need to like own data for training, LLMs and all that kind of stuff. But I think a lot was lost. I think the best times of the internet were like when Twitter and Facebook and Instagram were all building open graphs, open data, allow you to kind of like plug into their systems and build cool things with that.
Mm.
So I think that's something that maybe, the ship has already sailed, but I tend to think crypto companies are going to approach this very differently. Yeah, I'm famously like just I think we just need to get rid of paywalls. I think we need to get rid of subscriptions. I think everyone's tired of them. I can't. There's nothing more annoying than like getting sent an article from somebody and you click it and you're like reading the first paragraph and then you start scrolling down and then boom, there's a paywall and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't read the rest of the article. So I kind of just like don't get that stuff. I just feel like the news business is just killing itself
Mm. Yeah.
um, slowly using these kind of patterns. But I also don't blame them. I think it's really they've gotten crushed by you know Google and Facebook and other aggregators. Like it's just hard to carve out a niche for high quality stuff.
I only have one last question for you before I let you go, and that is, how else would you like me to approach Beyond the Drop? In terms
Oh
of how else could this kind of help creators and DRiP in general, from your perspective?
yeah, man. Well, I love to see that you're doing it. I think what we really need is like community members and evangelists who take the message outside of our walls. I think the format as designed is probably something that's appealing to our fans,
Mhm.
um, but what I've been looking for is folks that are going to YouTube and Instagram and like kind of telling the stories that we're not really allowed to tell about using DRiP. Like, um, I hesitate to say this on like camera, but talking about like how you can make money from DRiP, like those kind of videos probably do really well. Um, how creators are that you've never heard of are you know making hundreds of dollars a week, with this like exciting format. I think there's monetary stories to be told. I think there are stories to be told about um, the freedom that DRiP kind of provides them. Um, I think also the format of a podcast, long form podcasts is very unapproachable, and I think finding ways to cut up and deliver the content in like smaller morsels would probably be pretty pretty helpful.
Mm.
Um, you know, but all those things take a lot of time. I would never ask anyone of that stuff. I think, but yeah, like from a community member perspective, I think there's like a lot of content that could be created again that we wouldn't be able to produce ourselves for one reason or another, right? Or wouldn't be on brand for us, but it is something that like we want people to hear about, or like, helps get the message about drip, is an enticing thing.
Yeah.
Um, like those, yeah, I mean, like it or not, like the way that people get pilled by crypto the fastest is through money. So that's kind of why I was putting that out there. I'm sure
Yeah.
you were surprised to hear me say that. Maybe
Maybe.
not.
Maybe a little bit, but it makes a lot of sense. To be fair, it's like how else do you draw people in? It is by that.
Like the simplest story to get someone hooked. I'm not suggesting this is like how we think about the product value, but being able to say, hey, I signed up for this thing for free and like I got this collectible for someone and I sold it for $5 is like that stuff can go viral and pick up a lot of interest, right? And we feel like pretty confident at this point that like is like no matter why someone comes to the product, whether they're coming for farming or they're coming for art or for music, 30 to 40% of them just fall in love with it and they come back again and again and they get addicted to it and they grow their appreciation for the underlying assets over time.
Yeah.
It's just like the most common thing. I see it every day on Twitter. I'll see a user who will be like their first entry into DRiP's community will be like, hey guys, like how do you farm the at DRiP house airdrop, right? Which there's no airdrop. And then like 2 weeks later, they're like posting about the like, their favorite art from this week that they got from DRiP, right? So yeah, I think the product already is good enough to just allow someone to come in however they want and find a place. And if like the narrative that spreads the fastest is the one that's like the most kind of caveman-esque, so be it. Like that's what makes crypto quite different. Like it is financialized infrastructure for a new internet. So like to like fully lean away from that would make that much sense to me.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense, to be honest. Yeah. Tough truth, but it is kind of the reality of it, right? So, well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate that. Like we've obviously went like way over. Yeah, thank you.
Nice to see you finally, meet you, and thank you for what
Yeah.
you're doing with the show. I'm really happy you're trying it out. Hope you keep doing it. Keep doing better.
I will try. But yeah, like I said, massive thanks to you coming on. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Really surreal for me, genuinely. But yeah, thanks so much, Vibhu.